Brian Proctor back again, and today in this video I'm going to talk about doing a children's book, how you can make your own children's book. Now, so far I have published 3 books along with comics and other books, but this is children's books we're talking about. And I've had people ask me how to do it, so I decided to make a video. And truth be told, this is the 3rd time that I tried to film this because my camera keeps messing up and interruptions and the whole 9 yards. So let's give it one more shot. So what you're seeing before you are some original drawings from my books that are already out. And the only reason they're here is just to keep you from seeing me flail my hands around in front of the camera or see a white background, because this video is basically going to be just information on what you need and how to get started, and other videos will be more into doing. So yeah, there's no way that I can show you guys how to do a children's book in one video unless it's going to be a couple hours, and I don't think anybody's going to sit down and watch a couple hours worth of video, because you guys need to do your homework as well in doing this. Homework? I have homework? You have homework. Okay, so first of all, let's just say you woke up and say, I want to do a children's book. I have grandchildren, and I've got to stop saying. I have grandchildren or children that have done some crazy stuff in the past, and that would make a great book. So you say, I think I want to do that. Since I don't have the money to pay anybody to do it, I'll do it on my own. And you will say to yourself, but I can't draw, I can't write. Well, we're going to cover that in this video. Don't worry about having the ability to draw like this or write like that, because we're going to cover that. And then the one thing I like to say to people is don't shoot yourself in the foot before the race, because if you continue to say, I can't do, I don't have, I don't know, then when time comes for you to do, your subconscious will say, hey, what are you doing? You don't know how to do that, and you'll just give up right off the bat. So yeah, stop saying that. Start saying, I can do, because there's so much information in the world. You can go anywhere and find the information that you need to do something. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is figure out, who is the book going to be geared towards? Is it something that you're going to do for you're going to do for your grandkids? Maybe you want to make one book just for your grandkids to leave something for them that they can look at long after you're gone. Or you can say, I want to do a book that I want published and distributed. And then you say, what age group am I doing this to? Is this for like preschoolers, preteens? What age? Is it going to be an activity book or a reading book? So that's another thing that you have to think about as you go along. Now, if you had come to say in your head that I want to do a children's book, then that means you probably have an idea of some type. I can't put ideas into your head. I can just help you to develop the idea that you come out with. Because when you think about stories, story is basically just a journey, from this place to that place, or you see a problem and you fix the problem, or you realize you're something and you want to become something else. And I'll give you examples on that one. Let's just say you want to go from one place to the next. Let's say you and your dad are going to grandma's for Thanksgiving. So you guys jump in the car and you're driving to her house, and it's raining and you have a flat tire and you're on a hill. So you both jump out to change the tire, but the spare tire rolls out of your hand and rolls down the hill. So you and your dad run and chase the spare tire. And at the bottom of the hill, there's like a big creek or a little river or something. And the tire goes in and starts floating down the river. So you and your dad grab some wood and you build a quick little raft and you get on it and you're chasing the tire. That's that's where the meat of your story becomes, because you can have a beginning idea and at the end everything has to turn out okay, because you can't have bad stuff happen in a children's book. You can't have everybody die, the dad and the boy drowned and so they never made it to grandma's house. You can't have that. So that they got the tire and they put it back on and they made it to grandma's house in time for dinner, soaking wet. Okay, so let's just say that's your story. And if you want to, what was the other one? You see a problem and you have to solve the problem. You go into the garage and you see a mouse. So now you have to catch the mouse. And in doing so, maybe you start thinking like a mouse, or you have to imagine yourself being a mouse. Where would the mouse hide? So maybe you go and dress up like the mouse and you're hopping around the garage like a mouse. or maybe something happened that you turned into a mouse and you found that the other mouse was the previous house owner, and there's something in the house that you can use to turn yourself back into humans. Or you want to become something. You see that you're this, but you want to become that. So let's say, and these are just out of the top of my head. You watch a baseball game with your family or whatever, and this is coming from the kid's point of view because I'm writing as a child, seeing the child in the book. So that's from that kid's point of view. You watched a baseball game last night. You went to bed. You had a dream about being a baseball player, and you woke up and said, you know what? I want to play baseball. I want to be one of the greatest baseball players. So you go out and you start practicing, and you find out you are terrible at baseball. You can't even make the bat connect to the ball. So one day you're in the park and you're swinging at the ball, and this old guy comes up and he tells you, you know, what you're doing wrong. And you find out he was an old Hall of Famer baseball player, and he teaches you. And so that's your journey from becoming this to going to that. So that's basically, you know, how to do a story. And as I say, in the middle, you have to make it surprising, funny, entertaining. And it's always something out of the norm. Example, you go into the refrigerator and you open the refrigerator and you see a monster drinking the last of your milk. And you always wondered, how come the milk disappeared? But the monster has a back door in the refrigerator and it leads to Monsterland. Things like that you never expect, you know, in a book, and children don't either. So that's what makes it funny. So once you have your idea, part of your homework is to basically flesh it out. You know, ideas leads to pictures, pictures leads to words, and words leads to a good book. Lead to a good book. So once you have the idea and you see the pictures in your head, how would the words come out? And they say don't stress on that too much because we'll cover that later as we go along in the book. And I'm forgetting to turn pages. So once you have your idea, you have to think about your characters. Who are going to be the characters in the book? Are you mirroring? That's a hard word to say. Mirroring it off of your grandkids, your dogs, your neighbors, your people at your school, and if you are, then you have good reference to get started, you know, with, because it's easier to have people around you that you can write from than writing something completely imaginary like an alien world or something like that. So you can base your characters off your kids. And this was, what is this? This was the first book. I don't know if I said that or not. I'm flashbacking to the very first 2 times I filmed this, so I don't know if I told you this information or not. And this was my first children's book that I did, and it was called I Wish Every Day Was My Birthday. Forgive me if I already told you all this, but I can't remember from the first video to now. And this was the original drawings, and this was taking me forever. This is when I started this, actually when my child was like 8 years old, I believe, and he's 30-something now. So it took me a long time to finish it, to the point where I got frustrated and I eventually handed it over to somebody else to finish it for me. But the other books I did myself because I'm older and wiser now. So yeah, okay, so getting back to it, I don't want to go off too much. Getting back to it, you have your idea, you have your story, you flesh out your characters. The number of characters determine how much drawing you have to do. If you're just going to draw one person or 2, 3 people, you know, if the kids are going to be in a school like this has a group of friends that come over to party. So I had to draw just a character for each one. And every time you redraw this guy or that guy or this girl, you have to make sure you draw the exact same way again. So if you draw and you stop for 3 months and you come back and you forgot basically how you formed one of the characters, it's going to be hard, because I had that problem in one of my books. So once you get that, then you want to determine, where does the story take place in? Now this story took place in this guy's house. So everybody has a camera phone, so it's easy to go around your house. If you're doing a story about your children in the, you know, jumping in the bedroom, you can go in there and you can take pictures of the bedroom, you know, get down on your hands and knees or lay down or whatever and take good angle shots of the bedroom, and you can use that. You don't have to put everything, every dresser or so forth in there, but you got good starting reference pictures. And if you do need, let's say the children or whoever goes outside and they run into a police officer, you can always reference, police officer uniform. Go on, line and reference all the background or material that you need. Print it out, keep it in a folder, or just keep it in a folder in your laptop or computer, so that when you do get started, you will have all your reference material, and that helps a whole lot when you get ready to get started. Material wise, copy paper, a pencil for right now, and maybe an ink pen or a magic marker. Don't do Sharpies, because Sharpies, you can get the thin pointed Sharpies, but after a while, number one, Sharpie will go through your paper, and then after a while it turns green. Actually, the black will actually turn colors. So on your final pictures, I would not use a Sharpie. I use like this, pens like this, which are good. I mean, they're drawing pens. They cost a few pennies, but they're good for the long run. And this is another story. This is pages from another story that I did. And this was immediately after I did this story here. I started that one. Because remember, I got ice in my mouth. Sorry, I shouldn't be talking like that. I gave this one up to another artist to finish, and then I started this. So this is years old too. And I'm at the point where now that I'm coloring, and I did this when my son was like 8 or 9 years old, and I think I said he's like 30 something now. So yeah. And the problem is drawing a character from years ago and then trying to keep the character looking the same as you go along from 10 years later, trying to pick the story up. But anyway, as I said, your background, you find out where your character is going to be placed at. Get reference pictures if you can, and then that helps a lot. Now, you might say to yourself, I can't draw a stick figure, but I have enough videos on my channel, and I'm not really promoting myself, but that's why I do it. I have enough videos on my channel to get you guys started, and that could be part of your homework as well. Go to my channel and look up some of these videos. I have several really. One on how to draw for kids and adults, how to draw, I think it's called a stick figure, drawing a stick figure, because I've had people say to me that I can't draw a stick figure. So I showed you in the video how to draw a stick figure and add flesh to that, and how simple it is. And I taught a class on doing children's stories in my local college comics. And the one thing that everybody had problem with is fleshing out their story. And we had so much trouble doing the stories that we barely got to the character design. So in this video, what I'm going to do is, sorry, my battery just up and died. But as I was saying, I'm going to work on a story step by step with you guys. So once you come up with your idea, put that on hold, and then just follow me on this one story that I'm doing, and I'll draw it up and do the whole 9 yards, and you can follow me, and that'll be great practice for you when time comes for you to do your story. You already have the steps and the know-how from the story that I did. Because as I said, back in my college class, I was trying to help everybody with their own story at one time, and it just didn't work. And I should have just chose one story for everybody to follow along. So that's one reason why I'm doing this video, to make up for it, I guess. I don't know. But in the next video, we will get into more drawing and character design. So for your work, once you get your story down and you get it to the point where, and stories do change as you go along, because you think about things that you can add or that you don't like, you want to take out. But once you get it down to where you're completely satisfied with it, then you can go for it. And then that will determine how many pictures you're going to use in your story. Because as you walk along in your story, you determine what picture is more important to another picture. Because the last book I did ended up being 82 pages, I believe, and 82 pages is a lot for a children's book. but the way I have it, it's still entertaining, and kids can follow along with it and they will enjoy it. So, as I say, once you get your characters out, and I'm trying to think of what I had in the first two videos, the information, and what I said earlier just before the camera died, which took like an hour to recharge. So I'm trying to think of what I said and what I didn't say. Um, as far as coloring, I plan on doing a video on coloring as well. I think I have some videos on coloring, maybe not a lot, but I want to do one on Photoshop because it's easier. Since you have to scan it in, it's easier to do Photoshop if you have Photoshop. But if not, usually most children's stories are done in watercolor. Um, what is it? Oil pastel. Some are done in color pencil. You know, I wouldn't go crayon. I would pick a better medium. And then, but since you have to scan it in, unless you're doing a one shot original drawn book, you're gonna have to scan it in. So I do that, and since you scan it in, you can make corrections. I'll just color it in Photoshop myself. So what else was I going to say? Because it was about an hour of charging time, so I forgot what I was going to say. All right, since I can't think of what I was going to say, let's get back into color. Color plays a big part of a children's book, as anybody knows. Your colors need to be bright and just stand out. Sometimes wild. Just go into the store and pick out a children's book, and you'll understand what I'm saying. So you don't have to be a great artist to do a good children's book. You don't have to have a lot of background as well, because my background was doing comics, and in doing comics, I tend to have a whole lot of detail and background into my stories. So, but you don't have to. You don't have to. It depends on your story, your characters, so forth and so on. So, as I say, uh, Photoshop for me is the easiest one to do. But if you don't have access to a computer or you don't know about it, color pencil. I think color pencil would probably be the easiest way to do it. Or even inking. Um, if you have control of the brush, would be another good way to do it as well. And I said I'm have struggling thinking because this is the third time I filmed it and my battery died, so it kind of takes the steam or the wind out of the sails of a boat. So this story, I'll stop and I'll switch directions. This story was the one that was like 82 pages long, and I'll show you the book afterwards. And I just kept going with the pictures because step by step it needed to be said that way. It could have been longer, but I got to the point where I'm like, wow, just like finish this story up. But it needed to be because this is the story. The name of the story was A Day of Hide and Seek, and it's about three friends, and they came over to this guy's house, and they were playing hide and seek, and then they ended up trying to find the other friend, and it gets out there. So these are just some pages that I did, and I did this one big, scanned it in, and I did do Photoshop on it. So back to the story. Get your characters. How many pages you're gonna do? Um, as I say, don't worry about drawing right now because we'll get into that. And drawing is so simple that people are like, there's no way, and stop shooting yourself in the foot because there are ways. Go and check out some of my videos, and you'll see how easy it is to draw. Because if you can do A, B, C, D, right? A, B, C, D, E, then you can draw. Because drawing is just writing. Just add a few more lines to it. Um, what else was I going to say? A lot of important stuff that was on that old video that I can't remember. All right, I don't know. Maybe I covered everything, maybe I didn't, but I'll have to, my brain is not onto it. So I'll just continue to go on this. And yeah, this is all character design here because it's just these three, and then they go out on this crazy adventure, and I'll show you the actual published book. And this is another part of the character design. This is Catboy. That's his name. This is Steve. And they have the girl who's hiding. And these were just some roughs that I started. Let me zoom in. That when I was actually designing his face, because there's one thing when you draw a character, and let me give you a pencil and draw on this original real quick, because I think I redrew. I didn't use this exact page, but these are your character designs, and I don't know why I did him as an old cat. Maybe that could be his grandfather or something later in another book. And then I worked on his body, and I think I put a hat on him at first. Just this is one where he was kind of like crying a little bit. But the one thing you have to do is when you do a character, you don't want to go too, and I'll make sure that you can see this on the camera since I'm so zoomed in. You don't want to go too crazy with the design, because let's just say, and I'm standing up so I can see it. So let me just do this. You can see it a little better. Let's just say this is my character here. Now, every page is not going to be this guy this way. I'm gonna have to turn them this way, maybe up. So that's just something else you have to do when you do character design, that your character is going to turn left, right, up, and down. So you want to be able to have a simplified character where you can change him around and still be recognized. It's just like Fred Flintstones. If you look at any of the old, I think it was the 60s, 70s cartoons, Flintstones, Jetson, they usually never show, they don't really show different angles of the faces. It's always like a 3/4 turn left and right. They rarely show a profile or a straight up and down or straight forward shot, because they don't do it. And you never see them really change clothes. That's so that you can recognize the character right off the bat. So let me show you the book. This is the book that I did, and this is like the second draft book, because the publishing company that I'll go into, they will send you a copy, and I think it was free at first, or maybe they'll give you the first couple free, but then you have to pay like $6 or something, and they'll send you a draft copy, so that you can check the insides of it and see what happens. And this is the second time I sent it, because I was having trouble uploading it, and for some reason they had a couple blank pages. So I'm still working on that, because anytime you have a story, words, picture, and then you have a blank page, that throws everything off, because it's supposed to be words, picture. So these are words that go to the next page, and I'm still working on that. I think I have 3 blank pages in this one. So, but they send you the copy or the draft, or the rough, or whatever you call it, so you can read it and make sure all your words are spelled correct and so forth. And then since I have that page, let me show you the colored version. And this is all in Photoshop. So there you have the original, and there you have your colored picture. So yeah, and actually this is like 82 pages, 84, because they give you a blank, I think, at the end to balance out your picture. So I mean, but that's not, I want to give people something for their money's worth instead of a thin little book. And this was another one that I did. This is definitely not 82 pages. This was when I was teaching at a private school. I came up with the idea that to have the children or the students do a story. I think it was Fire Safety Prevention Week or something. It was just a while back, but they never got to it, so I continued to do it, and I finished up the story. And for the life of me, I cannot find the original art. I have no idea where it's at, but I have a room full of art and stuff, drawings, and it's somewhere. And that was another one. And the first book I did, I Wish Every Day Was My Birthday, I had the book. I think I had one last book, and I either sold it or gave it away. So, but I mean, all these books are online, and I'll leave a link to where you can get one if you choose to get one. But as far as story-wise, we'll work on your stories and your drawings and your so forth as we go along. So I can't think of what else that I wanted to say, and I know it was a lot to say. Maybe I'll cover it in the next video. But before I hang up, shall we say, I want to go over your idea, your beginning and your ending. Should have a happy ending always. We'll flesh out the middle as we go along. Your characters, how many characters, your character design, where does it take place at, who your book is geared to, what age your book is geared to, and I think that'll be it for this informational video. And as I say, the next one we'll go ahead and do drawing. We'll do drawing and we'll work on the story a little bit more. And as I say, I'll do a story and you guys can kind of like follow along. You can draw along with me and we'll put the story together. And maybe if it works out at the end, I'll finish the story and publish it to make it available for you guys at the end of this video series, if I can get it all out. So I think with that, I think I'll call this video a wrap. And as soon as I cut this off, I'll think about all these other things I wanted to say. But until then, I guess I'll see you in another video. All right. Bye.